The first half hour, I'm going to ask questions to the panel, and then I'm going to open it up to you for the last 15 minutes. Please have your questions prepared.
Ladies and gentlemen, the lead
I'm getting too old for this. Tiger on the
Yes, they decided that was the best way to do it.
We have to keep them apart.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid Tygra on Tygra violence. We decided to keep it.
Create some personality and identity for them if they're too close together.
Okay, we're all set?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Today?
I'm the only one who knows this afternoon. It's one win for me.
I know it's Sunday.
It's Saturday.
Okay, this was fun. Thank you.
Okay, we have, I hope they just introduction, but I'm just going to say this anyway. Peter Newman is the original Tygra. Lynne Lipton is the original series Cheetara. I don't know this guy. I don't know.
My name is Larry.
Larry. Okay. Original series Lino. We have original series Gerrianne Raphael. And of course we have Matthew Mercer from the WB reboot ThunderCats series as Tygra. Yeah, we should have you two sing together. Pause down. Okay, first question. How much does imagination play in your performances?
Not at all.
How do you mean that?
As in, how does imagination help you get into character, like everything?
It's everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay, that's enough. My immediate thought was about finding the voice. Once you have the voice, you know, the main part of the work, that part of the work is done. A lot of times it was in response to the visuals. You got to see at least a general idea what the character would look like, and so many times it suggested what that character might sound like. You know, then you were told it was good guy, bad guy, or girl, and then you would explore, just take chances. It was like an audition. So you take your best shot, and the lead editor, the director,
Yes.
would say, no, that's not it.
But it was also a group effort because I was the only woman in the room for a long time. And the guys would, you know, here would be a picture, which was a unique way to do. Today they do animation, you're in a room alone, and it's kind of lonely. But here, you're in a room with all these guys and a director, and they bring a picture in. And like Pete said, it was an audition. And the guys, everybody would have an input. Oh, we had these amazing men, Bob McFadden, who played Snarf. And Earl Hammond, who was the best, he was just, he was the best, most evil guy in the world. He had this great, mumra. And
Was he actually evil?
no, he was a pussycat.
He was snarky sometimes.
And that's what it was. It was an audition. The guys would put their input, and Gerrianne knows, so do a little of this, do a little of that. No, and the guys would say things like this to me. Oh, do a little Katharine Hepburn with Georgia Jessop.
Yeah, and I remember we'd say, take off your shirt.
Yeah.
Characters get more of the character because she wore a shirt.
Sometimes I both the men and the women, Lynne and I, would audition for that role. Like it didn't matter because it was going to be some kooky kind of character thing. And we just auditioned right in front of all of us, you know,
Yeah.
which was right and wrong.
We all help each other. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a good group to work
It was
with.
really good.
And I'm sure it had to be with you guys too, Matthew, because you can't really do something like that well unless your group is cohesive.
No, seriously. It's something about, well, for the most part, a lot of actors that work on animation, not only are they very welcoming and warm people, but they're also extremely funny. In the cases of Will Friedle and Kevin Michael Richardson, they also never turn off. So it's continuous banter and innuendo between every bit of recording.
Yeah.
But no,
Outtakes, we go.
Oh yeah. I'm sure everyone here, I'm sure, is very familiar with outtakes. All right.
What the? I don't think I've heard of outtakes from your series.
No, because we killed the engineer to make sure they never.
What do you think of that?
Well, that's one of the fun things with the new series was there actually was an episode that referenced the outtakes.
Yeah.
The moment I got the script, I was like, I get to say camouflage. But to finish the question too, like it's all imagination. Voiceover in particular really is. It takes somebody who can tap into that childlike imagination because you have nothing to work on except for your mind.
This does not.
It's well.
And also the new series, and I know this for a fact, they used a lot of drugs. Isn't that so?
A lot more than we do.
I've used
Different kinds of drugs.
Well, imagination and drugs.
yeah.
The difference is they call it weed, but we actually use weeds. There was no marijuana in the 80s that I knew of, because I didn't know any musicians. So we actually chewed on weeds.
Okay, so this is something similar. What I'm trying to do is to have my fellow fans understand the background of what you bring to the show or brought. Would you share one or two things about what it takes to do your work? What is it? Is it timing, emotion? Is there any kind of studying that you have to, either with the character or with your voice, to get a range?
Well,
I guess it varies from actor to actor, huh? I never studied,
and I was a
technical studying classes or anything, but I started radio when I was 15 years old, and I was doing, voices and things as a disc jockey. And believe it or not, I was class clown. I know that's hard. I'm growing out of it, but I used to kid around a lot. In fact, I wish I had a nickel. Well, I do have a nickel for every time. Thanks to ThunderCats. For every time a teacher said to me, Larry, I hope when you grow up, you're able to find a way to make a living with your jokes and your funny voices. Mrs. Anderson!
There's a DJ in New York called Imus. Do you guys know Imus?
Yes.
I mean, he was the whole company on Imus. He did all these characters and stuff like this. But
I just want to say about with Larry, the story of the teacher, one of the brothers, he did, and just to show the kind of guy he is, he actually bought Mrs. Anderson's house, and he evicted her.
It's a different world.
Larry said when he was in school, I started in radio when I was 4 years old. It was on a program called Let's Pretend. It was on CBS, and my father was the concert pianist with the CBS Symphony, and he played the Celeste on that, which was a dum-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-dum, and then they finally got a sponsor, so it became Cream of Wheat is so good to me, gives me pride every day. Anyway, and I started doing that when I was, really.
4 years
So
old.
when you ask about imagination and the start of that, that was the beginning for me. So that's all I just wanted to.
Well, and when I started, I'm a New York actor, and when I started out as a waitress. And if anybody out here has been a waitress, you don't imagine your whole life will be spent as a waitress. I knew I wanted to be an actor, so I used to do different characters that I see in the movies. the waitresses I would see in the movies practicing voices, you know, like Katharine Hepburn. Well, Ida Lupino, Betty Davis was a waitress in an old 40s movie that my family used to watch. And so I used to practice like that, and then I went to the Actors Studio, which is an acting school, you know, in the neighborhood playhouse. I would get these scholarships, and so I studied it. I was going to be a serious actor. When I went to this audition, it was a revelation to me because I had never done animation before, and the guys really taught me how, you know.
We taught her a lot of things.
Did you actually, when you were a waitress, did you do
Oh yeah, I got
wait
fired
tables
every
as Katharine Hepburn?
Absolutely.
Really? Let's hear it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sit down at a restaurant and you come over.
Yeah. What would you like, sir? I used to do that. And I get fired every week. I couldn't add, basically, you know, and I would have a wonderful time. Oh, that food is wonderful. That's wonderful. You know, and I would do that because it would make my job interesting, because I knew I will not be a waitress my entire life. I'll study. This is how I'll practice. I sold Life magazine on the telephone, and I did the same thing. You know, I just do all my accents, and you know, have you done Life? How could you know Life? Have you tried suicide? And I got fired out of that job too.
It really does take a special kind of crazy to be an actor professionally. Like you have to be able to not worry how other people perceive you and just play. Like never lose your sense of play. I worked briefly as a Starbucks or as a Barnes & Noble cafe barista.
Oh wow!
As Katharine Hepburn.
So it's hard to find dresses in my size. But the same thing, like you just try different voices, different accents as different customers come up and see who you can convince, which sometimes backfires when you realize that they actually are Scottish and you start with the brogue. You're like, oh, no, my family grew up around north of Glasgow. You know, yeah, it's a great little city, you should come by and visit. And they start coming more and more often, and you're like, oh, God. But yeah, it's just, it's having a little bit of that touch of fun, crazy play, and practicing. Driving in the car is the time to practice too, to really figure out your range of voices, because you're by yourself, and nothing's more fun than having conversations with yourself. And then stopping at a stoplight and looking over at the guy to the left who's like,
Sword of Omens, turn that light green.
Yeah, I should look into that. I think probably most of us, certainly those of us who work in animation, I think most actors were the kind of kids who, this is what we did in our rooms when we were little. You know, we copied voices we heard on old movies.
And it's
on
fun. It's like play.
Yeah.
It really is fun.
And the thing about
Hundreds of dollars.
as you get older, somebody said, you know, I remember being in New York and somebody said, oh, there's a crazy person. I said, I'm a crazy person. And I said, you have to grow up as a child and never lose the child as you grow up, because that's the fun of life. You know, I mean, if you can be harmlessly crazy, you know, then you're an actor. And then you really have an interesting life, just in a day. You wake up and you
Just imagine, imagine being, you know, Earl Hammond, and at the time he was, what, 70? I don't know.
Yeah, but he was...
And to be able to be 70 years old and get paid to stand there and go, ancient spirit of evil. I mean, it's wonderful. And there's no heavy lifting.
Yes, it kind of makes it unanimous, because I was also the kid standing in front of the bathroom mirror, making faces, doing voices, getting in trouble with an aunt, you know, of European background, and I would imitate her, and she would talk to me for a while.
But Peter, tell them what you were doing before you got the job with ThunderCats.
Well, I had only started doing voiceovers relatively few years before I got this job. And I was not a professional actor. I didn't start in radio, television, or anything like that. I although yes, I was always doing the voices and accents and clowning around as a kid, I never believed that I couldn't conceive of that as a way to make a career, make a living, be professional. As a kid, I learned to play the guitar. That was fun, and I would get together with a couple of friends in high school and do that sort of thing. So there was something about performing that, you know, was in me, but I just couldn't take that next step. So I did other things. I tried selling encyclopedias door to door one time.
And those are heavy.
Oh my God.
You did the whole set.
Sorry about heavy lifting.
But then weren't you an accountant?
Well, I worked in the back office, clerk on Wall Street for a number of years, you know, as a young fellow. And then I was a talent agency bookkeeper.
Wow.
And so I got to see the residual checks that these people who were doing these stupid voices were getting this money. And thanks to some good advice from people who loved me, mainly my mother, I took a shot at it. And by the way, one of the first people to encourage me and say, you should try this, was the late, great Bob McFadden. Because he was at that agency.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a genius.
Yeah.
Really.
And when he, I mean, I can see it as clearly, you know, as if it were just a few hours ago. He had come into the office, and Bob was one of those people who was always on. And always, you know, had funny things to say, and has a funny character. And he would do a voice, and I came out of the back office upon hearing this, because it drew me like a magnet. And I answered him in some, you know, appropriate, you know, voice, and I could just see his eyes just open a bit, a little wider, and he said, hey, that's pretty good.
You're one of us.
You're nuts too. You're as crazy as the rest of them. And he, over a period of time, said to me, you know, you should try this, you should do this. And with that kind of encouragement, I eventually did try. And the story goes that the first audition I ever went on was for the voice of a parrot for a Midwest chain of dairy stores or what have you, and I got the job. And I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. And then reality set in, but it was too late. By then I was hooked. And that's what happened. Then the real process started, learning how to work behind the microphone, or how to do the job. Started, and after a period of years, I was, you know, just so lucky to audition for and get the job to be some of the characters in ThunderCats, and you know, after that, we get to work with these incredible people.
I'm a little surprised, because Bob was always telling me I shouldn't be able to do it. I should try.
So talking a little bit on ThunderCats, boy, I just want to touch on this. What has surprised you the most about the popularity of ThunderCats?
I would say it's the popularity of it.
I used to take the
Who knew,
scripts. The scripts. I like to do work up in New York, Harlem, and some homeless shelters and some of the schools up there. And I would take the scripts, and when you're recording this, or at least I had no idea how popular it was. I didn't watch too much television. I didn't have a sense of anything. You know, we were just working actors, really. And but I love to. It was just part of stuff that I did in my life. I take the script and I take it up to Harlem, and I work with kids. Sometimes I improvise with kids, because some homeless kids, and especially kids who live in homeless shelters in New York, you know, there's a kind of, they're inhibited in so many ways because of the quality of their life. Anyway, I would take the script, and all of them knew ThunderCats. Like, where did they get a television? You know, and I would take the script and I say, you be this, you be Lionel, you be so-and-so, and they all did it. And that was the most gratifying thing about, that's when I knew it was popular in the sense of, you know, it was kind of in the culture. And, they couldn't afford the sort of omen or anything.
Yes.
So they'd have the end of a broom, you know, and they'd go, and it was just so moving to me, this experience for my life. And that's how I knew, you know, that it was a popular thing. Excuse me.
I do a lot of theater, and I would have a who's who in a program, and I have all these lovely credits, and I was very proud. I did with various Broadway shows and other credits. And at the bottom, I would say Pumyra and Jill on ThunderCats, and the people would, who were part of the company would, you were on ThunderCats? I mean, they couldn't give anything about all of those other credits. And I was on ThunderCats was like the greatest thing out of it, and that's when I realized how powerful and how popular it was. That was just an amazing thing.
Did you see me in Shakespeare the part? No, but I love you.
But you were
It's funny.
I think, obviously, when we were first recording the series, we had no idea what was going to happen, what it would become. But I started to get just an inkling of that as time went on, of how substantial the project it was. Because every so often, a fellow voice actor who wasn't working on ThunderCats would say, and I hadn't told people this, are you you working on that that cartoon, that ThunderCats thing? And I'd say, yeah. I'd say, how did you get it?
How do you get on?
I didn't audition. I didn't hear about it. How? And so you knew the word was out about this thing, and that was the first. That was, even before it hit the air.
It was just
first.
love.
I'm sorry.
No, I just want to say it was just.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. I just it was just lucky. It's kind of a
Oh,
lucky
sure.
thing.
Isn't that always lucky?
But it was just, it could have been anybody else, and I got lucky that day.
Yeah. My first inkling of how big the show was, because we were working on. First of all, we started recording ThunderCats 8 months or so before it ever was on the air.
Absolutely, yeah.
A long time. We started in October of '83.
I don't know, 84 maybe?
84.
Yeah.
It wasn't on until summer of '85. Something like that. We recorded several episodes,
You guys must know. Come on, you know
on.
it was on.
It's out. It's out there. And but I remember when it really hit me how big the show was. A week or so before Christmas, I was at Toys R Us Christmas shopping, and I walk in and there are 3 entire aisles on either side of nothing but ThunderCats. And I thought, oh my God, that's when you get that much retail space, that's big. And there were two boys, probably 9 and 7, I don't know, and they were looking. As I walked by, I heard one of them say, "I'm going to get Tygra because he's cool," And the other one says, "I'm thinking about maybe I'll get Panther." And so, of course, I go, "Why don't you get Lion-O?" Because he's the one who says, "ThunderCats, ho!" And they looked at me like, who is this perverted old man? So I just started slowly walking away, and as I got about 5 feet away, I heard one of them say, "He didn't even sound like him." If he only knew. He grabbed his pants. I thought it was so funny, he didn't even sound like him.
I'd say the moment I realized ThunderCats was popular was when I was 4 years old, running around with a cluster of ThunderCats action figures in my arms, pretending I was each of the characters. So I had the other perspective of it, I think.
I've always wondered, Matthew, if I may, Celeste, if I might. We of course, it was a brand new entity we started doing. Oh, it's a show called ThunderCats. That's kind of weird. When you guys started recording it, it was a known entity and had a pretty big history.
Yeah.
So that must have been,
So
we
what?
started that like, how do we do this?
Yeah, Matt. What was? You have your own ThunderCats series. So how did you know that series just went off like that?
Well, it was intimidating. At first, as soon as the audition sites came in, of course, it was Untitled Animation Project. And I was like, all right, cool, who am I reading for? Well, you're on audition for Lion-O and Tygra. I wonder what this could be. but I immediately ran around my apartment going like, oh my god, I'm ready for ThunderCats. And I spent like 2 days just working on the sides, even though it was maybe like 4 or 5 lines per character, but just like making sure that I had this down packed. So I was so dedicated to the idea of booking this. And once I booked it, I was like, yay! Oh God, I have to be in the new ThunderCats. There's a lot of fans who are going to be looking very carefully at making sure I don't ruin their and my childhood. So that was a little intimidating. But like everyone who worked on the show, and Will Friedle was a huge fan of the series beginning as well. So all of us, and Kevin Michael Richardson, who was Panthro, I think he remembers back, he was having surgery in like the late 80s, and he was in the hospital for about 2 weeks, and every day he just watched ThunderCats on the television, and that's when he became a fan of the show. So we all came in there as fans of the original series, and so it was partially this excitement of being part of it, and also this kind of this prideful, like let's make sure we can do it justice, something we really truly love.
You know, it hadn't even occurred to me. I'm the one who asked the question, but I remember now that I had the same feeling when I took over Count Chocula from Jim Dukas and Sonny from Chuck McCann, because they wanted to sound just like they had always sounded. And I forget about that. So I remember thinking, oh God, they got the job, yay! No, now I got to
deliver.
Okay, this is the time to open for audience questions.
Sweet. First off, I said to let you guys last year and to you guys, it's like I absolutely love you guys and a huge fan. How will I get it still right now? So thank you for just being heroes to us, like new heroes and old heroes.
Thank
What do
you.
you mean old?
That's really not nice, There's kind of this, it's a kind of prejudice. I don't like that, sir.
No, you're 25, right?
I'm 102. How dare you? We're seniors, That's what we are, and we're proud of it. Can I say that again, Larry?
You probably will.
Yeah.
I would be honest.
Thank you very much. That's very nice.
But I was going to ask, for you guys, the original cast, how do you feel about your characters being portrayed in this new entity? Because all your characters have been on the show now. Are you happy about what they've done with them?
Yes.
How do you feel how they look, or how they
Well, my shrink. I was very depressed about when I heard that there was a new show, because when you're as iconic as we were, it kind of diminishes that iconization. And my shrink we had many sessions about this, and then she said, you have to be much more generous, like the Dalai Lama. She said, give it up, let go, let God. And I changed shrinks at that point. and I saw the show and I thought they were wonderful, actually. I just thought they were wonderful.
I love this show. I love this.
Yeah, I do.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes fans would say, why didn't they have you guys? You guys are still alive. Just barely. I would say, what would be the point of making a new series that looks just like the old series and sounds just like the old series? It's ridiculous. And I think what they did, they took the basic show, and that they all loved, like Matthew said, everybody on the cast they were big ThunderCats fans, and so were the people who created it, Dan Norton and all the guys. So I love what they did with it. I just hope it goes on and on.
Yes, and they could call us to play grandparents, or come back as ghosts.
We may have to.
Cheetara, future past.
Look at those thighs, they're ghosty thighs.
I would like to say, as the only member of the panel here, forced to face his replacement. It's like walking into the cave of time. I look at him, he's so pretty. I feel older already. But honestly, what I realized, and I had a chance to meet Matt for the first time last night at dinner, and he's terrific guy, obviously a talented guy, that when I saw the first couple of episodes, and gee, you can't help but be a little possessive about this thing you helped create and all that. But the truth is, he, just like any one of the rest of us voice actors, is a guy out to get a job, and he was, like the rest of us, lucky enough to get that job. And this job is different than the other job. He gets a chance to make it his own, as does the rest of the cast on the new series. And so whatever I thought about my original experience and how wonderful and incredible it was, I hope that it's just the same for Matt, even though, yes, they had to deal with, being the new guys and the olds and all that. As professionals, as voice actors, I hope they, like kids, like we were, kids inside, just loved the experience and just enjoyed it as much as we did. Because, Matt, they also had the privilege of doing it in the room together.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest things we
I
had.
remember thinking that I was having as much fun as we
Yeah,
did.
absolutely.
And I was so disappointed, I'm sorry, when I got the chance to go out to California, come on, here you go, and do Claudus on the show for a couple episodes. I was so excited to meet these guys, and I walked into the studio at Warner Brothers Ranch, and there's the 5 or 6 microphones in the oval, just like you were. So I'm standing around, and I thought it was kind of strange because I stood there for the longest time talking to the engineer and all this, waiting for the rest of the cast to get there. And finally somebody said, I'm sorry, we really have to get started.
That's all right.
And I said, they're not coming? They said, no, it's just going to be you. In that big studio by myself. I said,
We'll cry.
I'll tell you one thing, this moment was palpable on both sides. Because when we got there, me and Will especially were excited about working with Larry Kenney. And you were right there, we're like, oh, why did you do that? Why did you think we're here? But I do want to tell real fast, I didn't get a chance to tell you last night, Peter, but when I was preparing for the character of Tygra, I went back specifically and watched a bunch of episodes and did pull inspiration from your performance of the original show to try and inject a little bit of that into the characters. So I'm carrying a little bit of your lineage on with the new Tygra.
since you admitted that, I will admit that when I came on to do Claudus, I watched a lot of Larry Kenney. Because he's my guy.
Okay, next question. Okay. Larry, when you were doing both the voices of Lionel and Jacqueline in the episode called The Mountain, if you've seen that one.
I've seen it, yes. I was there when they recorded it. I know what you mean.
The question I have is, how did you do both?
If they were talking to each other, for example.
Yeah, switch between both voices.
Yeah.
It seemed as though you did that on the fly, almost.
And by the way, we all did all the
Next.
We were all the voices on the show. I mean, there were 5 or 6 of us. Eventually, 7 maybe were added many episodes later. But so all of us had to do, and the time would come up when I would be talking with Gentleman. Now, some actors, I think, prefer to do all of, let's say, one character's lines, and then for some reason, I prefer to do it in real time. In other words, I would say, stop right there, Gentleman.
Don't tell me what to do, ThunderCats.
More fun that way. But some actors prefer to do all of, let's say, Lionel and then all of Jacqueline. Does that answer your question?
Jacqueline, he's amazing. Yes. He's quite amazing. I think, of all the people I've worked with, in all areas, I mean, he's quite remarkable in his facility. He has no talent, but he has
Okay, so
Make up for it with facility.
we have time for one last question. Yellow shirt.
Jason. Oh, I'm sorry. Could she answer one?
Yes, one more.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was wondering if, my particular favorite episode was Lord of the Snows, but do you guys have any favorite episodes?
Anybody? I like them all.
I especially liked doing Chilla because it was such a challenge, so I really enjoyed
It was a little chilly.
Well, the difficulty with cello was that with the breathing blue breath, I would go, and I had no voice left. So what I did was I would breathe in and go, and then I would be able to talk because then I had a lot of breath left.
I would see that blue breath.
There was a condition, right?
Can you do one more ThunderCats? Can you do one more ThunderCats ho?
One more.
One more question. Actually, to play on to that, I had this crazy idea that I had thought of whenever I saw the panel. I think this is the first time we've got 4 classic ThunderCats voice actors on the same panel. Could we get a code of Thundera? Oh. And then a ThunderCats ho? Yep.
Yeah.
Can we get it?
One word each. And
One word each and then ThunderCats ho?
Would you like that?
Oh, sure.
One word together?
Oh, one word. Oh, one of the words of the
Yes.
code.
One of the words of the code of Thundera.
Justice.
Loyalty.
Honor. You didn't see that ladies move their mouth.
They never even knew the code.
Yes, I did. I thought he always did it. You know, I want to invite you all, all to my funeral when I die. So that there'll be
4:30 on Tuesday.
there'll be this group ho, and it will last forever.
So, shall we end it with that? Yes. We will do that. You'll all do it with us.
Yes.
Yes.
Thunder.
Thunder.
ThunderCats.
Without you. No, I say that sincerely. What is
Panel's
it?
over on.
Get something to eat, we'll take a nap.
Oh, shut up.